always try and share with you recipes that are an easier version of the conventional way that things are made, like ice cream without an ice cream machine, or making a cake without using an oven. So today I'm going to show you how to make churros without using a deep fryer. And trust me, these ones are even better than the fried version. So let's get baking. When I made my baked donuts video, I got such a positive reaction from all of you and great photos of your final results. So I have a feeling you're really going to like these baked churros. The dough that you use for making a churro is essentially a choux pastry. We're going to start out in a heavy bottom saucepan. Add in your water, butter, sugar and salt. And then when the butter is melted, bring all of these ingredients to a simmer. Now that our water is simmering, we're going to go straight in and add in our flour. Now you want to whisk this in so it doesn't make any lumps. Turn down the heat on your pan and start to almost cook your dough, and you'll see it start to form a ball. And we just want to move it around for a few seconds, cook it a little bit, it kind of dries it out a little bit. And don't worry, if you don't have brown sugar for this recipe, you can go ahead and use white. All we want to do is cook this dough for around a minute. And there we have it. We're going to turn off the heat. Our dough is done. As you can see, it's a nice firmer dough. We're going to set this dough aside and prepare our eggs to add into it. In a separate jug, we're going to add in our eggs and vanilla extract and then whisk them all together. It's important to use room temperature eggs because we want them to be a similar temperature to the dough that we're going to add them into. Our next step is to add our eggs into our dough. I'm going to add a little bit of eggs at a time and I'm going to mix them in with a spatula. This is why we only add in a little bit of eggs at a time so you can incorporate it easily. A little bit of eggs and a lot of elbow grease. Once you add in your eggs, it's very natural for your dough to look like this. Don't worry, take your time and just keep on mixing in those eggs. Okay, great, I can see my dough coming together. Okay, whew. And this is what your choux pastry should look like. A little bit soft, but it's totally pipeable. It's gonna work great. To prepare your piping bag to make churros, you're going to use a star nozzle. If you only have a round one, that's okay. But traditionally, when you get a churro at like the fair or the circus, it always has those lovely ridges, and that's from a star nozzle. And then just fill your piping bag 3/4 of the way with your choux pastry. Piping bags are always a good investment. I usually buy a big roll and then I always have them when I need them. Have a little bit of space on top, and then we're ready to pipe. When baking these churros, I like to double tray because it's such a delicate dough that it has a tendency to burn underneath. So if you double tray with 2 good quality trays, you should have no trouble at all. A good little trick to stop your parchment paper blowing around in the oven, take a little bit of your choux pastry, you put it on the tray, just a little dot, and then boop, stick down your paper. Under that corner, boop, just a tiny little dot. To pipe your churro, put pressure on your piping bag and make sure the churro comes out nice and thick. And then take a knife and wipe away the pastry. And then give the next one a little bit of space, put some pressure on your piping bag, try and keep it straight. Then when you get the length that you want, just take the pastry away with a knife. Just like my baked donuts, you can actually fry this dough as well if you want to, but I think once you bake them and you see how great they are, you won't want to fry them. And make sure to give a nice bit of room to the churro beside it so they don't bake into each other. So because this dough is a choux pastry, you can use it for making cream puffs and for fish rolls, and it will work great. Then just keep on piping your churros until all your dough is gone. So just before they go in the oven, here's a little bold baking science tip for you. We're going to dust them with a little bit of water, and we do this because once it goes into the oven, the heat hits the water and it evaporates and creates steam, and then your churros go poof and get nice and big, and that's exactly what we want. Now your churros are ready, so pop them in the oven. What you'll most commonly see served with churros is a really thick and rich hot chocolate. So while our churros are in the oven, we're going to go ahead and make one. In a heavy bottom saucepan, we're going to heat up some milk until it comes to a simmer. Once your milk comes to a simmer, we're going to add in our chocolate. Now I'm using some dark chocolate discs and a little bit of milk chocolate to kind of get a good balance of bitter and sweet. But as long as you use good quality, I'm happy. Go ahead and whisk in your chocolate until it's melted. Next, add in some vanilla extract. To thicken up our hot chocolate, we're going to mix some corn flour with a little bit of water. And what this is called is like making a slurry, and it's just a little thickening agent. You should never add corn flour straight into any product because it just will clump up and not be nice. While your hot chocolate mix is simmering, we're going to add in our cornstarch mix. Pour it in and vigorously whisk. You'll see your hot chocolate start to thicken and be really gorgeous. I love this hot chocolate so much. At this stage, you want to let it simmer for another 2 minutes because you need to activate that cornstarch and let it thicken even more. You just might want to stand here and give it a little whisk as it does. And there you have it, a beautiful hot chocolate to serve with your churros. It is so fast to make. I made it while the churros are in the oven. And I know you guys can too. Our timer has gone off, but rather than take out our churros right now, we're going to leave them in there and turn off the oven completely. And what this does is it dries out your churros and helps them keep their shape without collapsing on themselves. So do this step and you'll have perfectly shaped churros. To make the cinnamon sugar for the churros, we're going to take a little baggie, and we're going to add in some sugar, some cinnamon, and a little bit of salt, and then we're going to mix them all together. This is the total mess-free way of doing this, believe me. The reason I add a little bit of salt into this mix because it just brings out the flavor of the churros and the cinnamon, so I strongly suggest adding a little bit in. Our churros are ready to come out of the oven. The churros look fantastic. They're beautiful golden brown all over. The bottom is a nice color, not too toasty. They are going to make fantastic churros. Once our lovely churros are out of the oven, we want to dip them straight away in our cinnamon sugar. Take your lovely warm churro, pop it into your bag, and then toss it around in the cinnamon sugar. Don't be tempted to eat one yet, just lay them on the rack for now. Then just keep on tossing your churros in your cinnamon sugar. The reason I do it while they're still warm is because the sugar sticks so much better to them. How pretty are these little churros? They are perfect. Why would you fry churros when you can bake them and make them look like this? You can make a variety of different shapes. You don't have to just do long. You can do little churro niblets. You can also make churro hearts, which are super sweet. No matter what shape you make them, they're going to taste great. Pour yourself a big mug of hot chocolate, dip your churros, and enjoy immediately. Can you see the inside? It looks just like a churro. You guys have to try this out and tell me if baked is better than fried, because I think I know what you're going to say. These are so good. Yummy. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. I'll see you back here Monday for my breakfast series, and of course every Thursday for another episode of Bigger Bolder Baking.